Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. There are many questions that we would like to have answered for us. What was it like before God made this universe? What was it like to live in a time when there was no time? What will heaven be like? And all of those are good questions, but the Bible only provides tiny glimpses into those answers, for they are not actually that important to bring people to faith in God. My faith doesn't depend about knowing what heaven will be like exactly. I just need to know that I should want to go there to be with God. However, questions about the resurrection body, another question that many people have, were causing some in Corinth to doubt the resurrection in full. So Paul gives us an answer to that, even if it doesn't answer everything about the question. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. We're going to be reading from verses 35 to 49. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Corinthians chapter 15, beginning at verse 35. But someone will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Foolish one, what you sow is not made alive unless it dies. And what you sow, you do not sow that body that shall be, but mere grain, perhaps wheat or some other grain. But God gives it a body as he pleases, and to each seed its own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of animals, another of fish, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. There is one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differs from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. The body is sown in corruption, it is raised in corruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. However, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, and afterward the spiritual. The first man was of the earth, made of dust. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As was the man of dust, so also are those who are made of dust. And as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly man. There was a problem in Corinth among many. They were heeding false prophets who came in saying that there was no resurrection from the dead. This teaching was heretical, for it denied what many people had already witnessed and would have the consequences of making faith, hope, and baptism meaningless, because Christ died for our sins and was raised not only to conquer death, but to provide hope to man of his own resurrection. Death came in by one man, Adam. The death spoken of in this context is physical death, the consequence of Adam's sin and the removal of the tree of life by God. Everyone dies a physical death because of Adam. It is also by man, Jesus, that comes the resurrection of the dead. We didn't focus on that phrase in the last lesson, but this phrase proves the humanity of Jesus. Jesus died physically as a result of becoming man and suffering the consequences of Adam's sin, though not sinful himself. If death came by man, it was necessary for life and the resurrection to come by man too. And so Christ manifested himself not only as God, but as man. And since Jesus was raised from the dead, everyone will be made alive with a physical resurrection because of Jesus. Even the wicked will be raised, but will be raised to face eternal death in hell. The question is, what will that body look like? The reason that Paul deals with this is because it is likely that those teaching against the resurrection were saying, how is resurrection possible since our bodies will return to the dust? How can God raise up dust to give us our bodies back? Now, this type of argument amazes me because God created this world from nothing simply by speaking it into existence, but perhaps these prophets didn't believe in that either. God formed man originally from the dust of the earth. He gave us a body. Certainly decay into dust is not going to prevent God from raising the dead and giving them bodies either. In fact, God gives all things a body as he pleases. There is one flesh of man, another flesh of animals, another flesh of fish, and another flesh of birds. And you want to know what? We still divide animal meat that way today. Go to your local grocery store and you'll find a meat section for pork, beef, lamb, etc., a poultry section for chicken, turkey, duck, and goose, and a fish section for all types of seafood. Cook these meats and you'll know that not only do they taste different, but their meat is actually composed differently. And of course, we don't or shouldn't eat human flesh because that was made in the image of God, and God gave us different flesh because of it. God also gave different bodies, as it were, to the sun, the moon, the planets, and the other stars. Each of the celestial bodies look different and differ even in their glory or splendor. But God made them that way too. I find it interesting that Paul said that God designed it that way, that it is that way, and yet people still want to deny God's existence and his creative power. How could God give something a body if it dies first? Another argument of the anti-resurrection prophets. For that, Paul uses the analogy of a seed. As long as the seed remains in the bin or a pouch, it is a dead thing. There will be no plant. The germ of life, the potential to have life, is there, but as an outward appearance, the seed looks as dead as a rock. It can only start into life by being buried in the earth, and in the right conditions, the outer shell of the seed will decay and the plant will sprout. The plant that sprouts has its own body, different from the seed given to it by God for the purpose he made it for. So too with the resurrection. Speaking of Christians, Paul said that our physical body was sown in corruption, corruption from sin that leads to physical death. Our spiritual body, the new body that God will give us, will be raised in incorruption. Our physical body was sown in dishonor, again because of sin, but our spiritual body will be raised in glory, sinless, having been forgiven of all sin by the blood of the Lamb. Our physical body was sown in weakness, in that it is capable of dying, but it is raised in power, unable to die spiritually, in other words, cease to exist. There is a natural body meant for this earth, and there is a spiritual body. What will that spiritual body be for? A spiritual place, heaven. This passage is why it is so peculiar that people believe that this earth and this universe is what God is promising us in a purified form. This earth is earthy, Adam being formed from it, given a physical body from it, and into him was breathed the breath of life, and he became a living being according to Genesis 2, verse 7. The second body will be different from that body, namely because Jesus, through the resurrection, became a life-giving spirit, was from heaven, and therefore the body he provides will be suitable for there. I know Peter speaks of a new heavens and a new earth, but that is a metaphor for a new home. Peter also said that our inheritance is reserved in heaven, and John said that Jesus is going to prepare a place for us, that where he is, we may be also. That place that he went is heaven, and so that is what this spiritual body, this heavenly body, will be suitable for. And just as on this earth we bear the image of first Adam, in that we have physical bodies, in heaven we will bear the image of the second Adam, that heavenly man, Jesus. No, we will not become God, but we will be like God, possessing an immortal spiritual body, and we will see God as he is. The physical body, however, Paul says must come first, then the heavenly will come second. Now, I'm often asked, will we look like ourselves and be able to recognize one another? First of all, I don't know what we'll look like, for in actuality, we all die at different stages in life, and therefore all have different aged bodies. But I know that we will be us, and that our bodies will be glorious and fitting for heaven. The rest I leave up to God, who is fully able to clothe us with a spiritual body suitable for heaven. We'll conclude chapter 15, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 50 to 58, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.